Assalamu alaikum to everyone. This is Muhammad Ishtiq, Lecture Department of English, Cost. A warm welcome to the course of Psycholinguistics, lecture number 14. This lecture is going to be a practical demonstration of whatever we studied in our earlier lecture. I think right from lecture 9 to lecture 13. Yes, the 5 earlier lectures, lecture number 9, 10, 11, and 13, it was a sort of theoretical background, methodological procedures, practical technique, and this time we are going to apply it. I think we have already mentioned this thing in our earlier lectures. The psycholinguistics is actually belongs to the applied branch of linguistics. And anything in psycholinguistics, if it doesn't have practical implication, if it can't be applied to language teaching and language learning, or if any procedure, methodology, technique in psycholinguistics which can't be practically applied, it does not have that much sound validity. So we studied about contrastive analysis as a theory, then as a method. Many different things have been covered in the earlier 5 lectures about contrastive analysis, and this one is going to be a practical study of contrastive analysis between 2 languages, English and Arabic. Means we will practically conduct a contrastive analysis using English and Arabic for comparing and contrast verbs. So let's move to plan or objectives of the course. Objectives include that after studying, after listening and watching 2 lectures, the student would be able, they will get awareness of some of the differences that exist between Arabic and English. And they would also be familiar with how mother tongue interferes in the second language or in the foreign language, or you may say in the acquisition or learning of second and foreign language. Outlines of the course of this topic include contrastive analysis between English and Arabic at various levels, means at phonological, syntactic, lexical, semantic, many other levels. We will be covering many different things, not just one level. At various levels we will be doing the contrastive analysis, and after this we will be also focusing on learning English in mother tongue interference case studies. By case studies we mean, in this case we will be trying to know the influence the interference caused by Arabic. If Arabic is the mother tongue, how does it influence learning of English as a foreign language or second language? And finally, there will be conclusion. So let's move to the first slide, the first topic of today's lecture. We should start with Arabic and English phonemes. A contrastive study between English and Arabic phonemes should be done. For instance, you may have knowledge of this fact that various world languages have actually employed different sets of phonemes. Even the number of consonant and vowel phonemes, they vary to quite a large extent in different world languages. There are languages that use as many as more than 100 consonants, and there are languages that use as few as 3 or 4 vowel phonemes. So, but generally we may say that the average number of consonants and vowel phonemes used by languages is actually 30 to 40. So if the two languages have got similar set of consonant phonemes, mean both using a large number of consonants, there will definitely be some sort of similarities between the two. If the two languages use quite different sets of phoneme when using too much, mean the number of consonants in one set in one language is too large, the set of consonants is too extensive, whereas the other is very limited number of phoneme. In that case, there will be problems for the two languages as far as their interaction in learning environment is concerned. So we are going to focus on Arabic and English. English has about 3 times as many vowel sounds as Arabic. Mean the number of vowel sounds in English is too extensive. The set of vowels phoneme in English is quite large compared to Arabic. So definitely English is employing too many vowel sounds, whereas Arabic is using too few vowel sounds. As far as their consonant sounds are concerned, they are again not very much, you can say, same or similar, but the contrast, the difference between their consonant phoneme, the set of consonant phoneme is not that much glaring. It's not that much, you can say, conspicuous. It is the case in the vowel phonemes of Arabic and English. So look at again, we say that English has about 3 times as many vowel sounds as Arabic. So it is inevitable, means we can't avoid it. It's unavoidable that beginning learner will fail to distinguish between some of the words they hear. Beginning learners of English, Arabic speakers who start learning English as a second language or foreign language, they will definitely fail in distinguishing some of the words they hear. Which words? Like ship, sheep, shop, and shape. Okay, the word ship, the word sheep, the word shop, the word shape, and many others. Or similarly, the words bad and bed. It's not bed and bed, it's bad and bed. So definitely Arabic speakers don't have that much fine-tuned ear to distinguish such very subtle vowel sounds in English, and they will have difficulty saying such words correctly, especially these having a little bit of differences in their vowel. They will have problem in correct pronunciation of such words. Not only in you can say vowel phonemes, they will have also problems in consonant phonemes. For instance, problem in pronouncing consonants include the inability to the swapping of b in at the beginning of words. Swapping, we may say exchange. They can't exchange b and p. Whether it is per, they constantly replace it or pronounce it b. If it is b, it's okay. Even if it's per, they just change it to b. For instance, they never say park, they always say park. They never say Pakistan, they always say Pakistan. And yes, many other wherever a word begins with per, they will just pronounce it as the word begins with per. So this is again very you can say bit confusion for Arabic speaker. So, and they also substitute first sound for wo, means not only the two sounds b and p are substituted for each other, means p is substituted for b. Similarly, v is also substituted for f. So when two languages have got different sets of phoneme, there's likelihood that they will replace one phoneme for other. This is the case of Arabic speaker, that they actually fail in identifying, or you can say realizing different very fine and subtle type of vowel phoneme, and they actually replace one sort of minimal pair phoneme with another. For b and for v. Not only the two languages have got different sets of phoneme, they've also got different sets of stress pattern. For instance, in Arabic, word stress is regular. It always remains the same. Whether the word is used and wherever the word is used, the stress pattern remains the same. It's common, therefore, for Arab learners to have difficulty with the seemingly random nature of English stress pattern. So look at it in English, and there will be, you can say, they may not be using the stress pattern of English the way it needs to have been used. Why? Because look at one is random, the other is regular. So English using random and Arabic using regular. For instance, look at the random nature of English stress pattern. The word is academy. Stress is on the second, but this one is not academic. It changes, the stress changes from second syllable to the third. It becomes academic. It's not academic. This one is academy. Stress is on the second, but here stress changes to the third, academic. And look at here again. It changes, the stress changes, it does not change, but actually length of it, it's not, it changes into academia. So again, it's in the third, but there's longer duration for the third syllable compared to the second word. And here it just changes to the fourth one, academician. So this is mean the same word, right from academy to academic to academia and to academician. So this it actually shows the random nature of English stress pattern, but in Arabic it's not the case. One word does not change actually as far as stress pattern is considered, always remain the same. So for example, again the word yesterday, it's stressed in the first syllable, in tomorrow in the second. It's not yesterday, it's yesterday, the very first one, but this one is actually not tomorrow, it's tomorrow, so it's in the second. So we may not be sure which word is stressed where. We need to be very much careful about the stress pattern. Unlike Arabic, it is mobile. It is, we may say, random or mobile. It changes in different circumstances with different features. Coming to Arabic and English grammar, I mean their verb form and their tense system. So look at it has got very clear and contrasted things. Arabic has no verb to be in the present. Look at Arabic hasn't got this thing to be in the present tense, and no auxiliary too. Two major differences of Arabic with English is number one, Arabic hasn't got to be in the present tense, and it hasn't got to do auxiliary. So this will have problem. This will pose problem for Arabic speaker when they write English, when they speak English later on. Furthermore, another major difference, there's single present tense in Arabic compared to English, which is the simple and continuous form. Look at English. Arabic has got only one single present tense, whereas English has got four. It has got present simple, it has got present progressive, it has got present perfective, it has got present progressive perfective. So against four different forms of present tense in English, Arabic language has got only one form, known as simple present tense. These differences result in errors such as she, mean which differences? The difference is that Arabic hasn't got to be, the difference that Arabic hasn't got do, the difference that Arabic has only one form of present tense, single present tense, unlike English which has got four or three different forms of the present tense. These differences result in errors. Such as she good teacher. Instead of saying she is a good teacher, Arabic speaker may say she good teacher. Why? Because we have already mentioned Arabic hasn't got this thing. Arabic hasn't got to in the system. For instance, we already mentioned to be is not part of the present tense system in Arabic. So that's why no to be. If to be was part of the present tense in Arabic system, Arabic speaker would have said, a writer would have written, she is a good teacher. And similarly, they say, when you come to Germany, or instead of saying, when do you come to Germany, we always say, no, that do is not part of Arabic systems of grammar or verb system, tense system. So that's why they say the writings or the citings without using auxiliary. They don't say, when do you come to Germany, they say, when you come to Germany. Again, it's same as again, I'm flying rather than I'm flying. They say I'm flying because now to be in the present tense. I'm flying to Egypt tomorrow. Where he going rather than where he is going, say where he going. So these things, since they're not part of Arabic grammar system or Arabic verb system, they are actually reflected in their systems as well. They're not using these things in English is a foreign language as well. Why? Because these are influence of their mother tongue. Arabic versus English grammar can do. Arabic does not make the distinction between actions completed in the past with invalid connection to the present. Again, in Arabic we don't have two completed action. One action completed in the past, which is reflected in simple past. One action completed recently into the present, connection to the present, which is reflected in the present perfect. So look at in English we have two types of completed action. Action completed in the past, it is actually reflected in simple past tense. In action completed in the recent past, or you can say somewhat the effect is still visible in the present, and it's actually realized, you can say represented, reflected in present perfect. But in Arabic no such thing exists. They just have only one type of action completed without taking care of whether the action is completed in remote past, in the distant past, or whether the action has been recently completed. So it also will have problem this for Arabic speaker or writer is concerned. So this thing, when they don't distinguish between the two things, present action completed in the past and action completed recently, it also has its repercussion for Arabic speakers of English. What are the repercussions? This leads to failure to use the present perfect tense. Why? Because they always consider action to be completed in the past. They never take care of action completed in the present. So this leads to failure to use the present perfect tense. When they don't use present perfect tense, this means they don't consider completed action in connection to the present. They always consider completed action in connection to the past. So it's in, I finished my work, can you check it? Look at, can you check it means this is something recent completion of the task, recent completion of the action. So Arabic speakers say, I finished, but an English speaker would have said, I have finished my work. Can you check it, please? This means that I have recently finished my work, recently completed my action, and for recently completed action, the English structure is not present, not past simple, rather it's present perfect. So Arabic speaker replace, they just use past simple where present perfect is advisable, where present perfect is appropriate in such way. There are other problems as well. So furthermore, we may also note that there are no modal verbs in Arabic. And this, for example, leads to from the possible determinate. If there is no modal verb in Arabic, to use structure like from the possible that I'm late. Instead of saying I may be late, the word may is a modal verb showing possibility, but since Arabic hasn't got any modal verb showing possibility, they use the word possible but itself. So instead of translating or using the appropriate English structure using modal verb of may, Arabic speaker of English would say from the possible that I'm late. Another common mistake is to infer that an auxiliary is needed and make mistakes such as, for instance, even in case of modal verb, they make use of auxiliary. For instance, instead of say, must I do that, they use the structure do, I must do that. Do, I must do that. So they infer this possibility that, yes, auxiliary helping verbs are also used even in case of modal verbs already used in the sentence. Not only as far as stress pattern is concerned, as far as phonemic shift is concerned, as far as grammatical differences, there are also differences in the use of article. For instance, the indefinite article does not exist in Arabic, leading to its omission when English requires it. Since Arabic language does not use indefinite article, but English language uses that. So whenever English language requires it, Arabic speakers omit it. Why? It's just because of the influence of the mother tongue where indefinite articles are not used. So there's a definite article in Arabic, but its use is not identical with the use of the definite article in English. Number one, Arabic hasn't got any indefinite article, so it does not use it. Matter, Arabic has a definite article, but the use of function means function. Functional use of this definite article is not identical with the use of the definite article in English. It is used quite differently from compared to Arabic learners have problems with genitive construction. Besides article, Arabic learners have problems with genitive construction such as the boys talk. Means possessive constructions are also actually problematic for Arabic speakers. In Arabic, this would be expressed as dog the boy. This construction of boys talk is actually be written in Arabic as dog the boy, which is how such construction may be conveyed into English. Means using the structural pattern of their native tongue, a mother tongue, L1, they imposes it on the target language, English, and distort the very well-formed structure of boys talk into the ill-formed structure of dog the boy. Why? Because Arabic has actually got quite different structure compared to English. As far as adjectives is concerned, adjectives in Arabic follow the noun they qualify. Look at in English we have general pattern in English is the noun they qualify, adjective precedes the noun they qualify, whereas in Arabic they follow English. For instance, in Arabic, adjective follow the noun they qualify, whereas in English they precede the noun they qualify generally. So there are some English adjectives that follow the noun they qualify, but they're not actually English adjectives, they are imported foreign adjective. However, there's major contrast between Arabic and preceding and following noun in adjective. So when they follow, this leads a beginner to make word order mistake in written spoken English. How word order mistake actually done? For instance, instead of saying he's a good boy, they say he's a boy good. Instead of saying this is a fine notebook, they say this is notebook fine. So this is something very, very faulty pattern in English. Arabic requires the inclusion of the pronoun in relative clauses, unlike English in which the pronoun is omitted. Another major difference between, for instance, if a pronoun is in object case, object position in a relative clause, English just omits it. General pattern in English is, if a pronoun is actually happen to be in a relative clause in object case, it is omitted, but Arabic does not omit it, it retains it. So where English omit things, Arabic retain. Where Arabic omit things, English retain. So the two languages are actually quite in contrast to each other. This results in mistake like, where is the pen which I gave it to you yesterday? Similarly, we may omit this thing where the pen I gave to you yesterday, but English, Arabic may retain two extra things that in it. This is not actually needed at all as far as English structure is concerned. So they make two mistakes. In English, the adjectives follow, whereas the adjectives actually precede the noun, whereas in Arabic it follows. English omits pronoun in relative clause, whereas Arabic just retain it. So definitely there will be problem for Arabic speaker learning English. Now we are going to have some discussion about interference of Arabic. Arabic is a mother tongue, has got interference when learning English is a second or foreign language. What interference? Look at the interference of the mother tongue has always been a major problem in teaching and learning English as a foreign language. Up till now, we were actually focusing on these things. We talked about interference. Interference is, you can say, the keyword in contrastive analysis. How contrastive analysis is actually done? It's actually looking for the interference of mother tongue. So in this case, the mother tongue is Arabic, and we are looking for the interference of Arabic in English is a second language or foreign language. So Arab students who learn English, so this means Arabic is actually native tongue, mother tongue L1. When they learn English, English is actually a second language or foreign language. They often make lexical, semantic, and phonological errors. Why? Look at Arab students, when they learn English, they make a variety of mistakes, including lexical, semantic, phonological, because of the interference of their mother tongue, native tongue, that's Arabic. So it's very much clear. Arab students make mistakes, variety of mistakes. The mistakes are lexical, semantic, phonological. They make errors, and the errors are due to the interference of their native language, their native tongue, L1. What is their native tongue? What is their L1? It's Arabic. Let's move and study it one by one, in which areas the interference are actually caused. Number one, redundancy. Arabic-speaking students often resort to redundancy. Redundancy means using extra things, additional things. For instance, even if they are not needed, they use it. How do you do it? When writing compositions in essays, or even when speaking, but more particularly in writing, they use extra, additional things which are not needed at all as far as English structure is concerned. For instance, they usually cannot avoid using redundant patterns. How? The following sentences are just a few common examples of redundancy, means using extra things, non-essential things. For instance, Mona lives alone by herself. Mona lives alone is enough. By herself is redundant. Or we may say Mona lives by herself. It's enough. Alone is redundant. Meaning one of the two should be removed, either alone or by herself, because it gives redundant information. For instance, it's Mona lives alone is enough, or Mona lives by herself is enough. Whereas writing Mona lives alone by herself is redundant. Similarly, the problem is very serious in the nature of it. Look at the problem is very serious in the nature of it, means in the nature of its redundant information. The problem is very serious by itself, makes it clear that the nature of the problem is serious. There's no need to explicitly say in the nature of it. So we may say the boss advanced forward the date of the meeting. Look at advanced forward. Both have got the same meaning. The boss advanced the date of the meeting, no need advanced forward, when the same meaning. So they use such redundant pattern without knowing that the two words actually got the same meaning. They does not add to the meaning, rather they actually can be counted as redundant information, extra information, without accounting for you can say additional, you can say some essential information. Similar prepositions. Arabic-speaking students sometimes use preposition where they're not supposed to, means wrong use of preposition just because of their mother tongue. while writing, do you normally use affect on, enjoy with, or by, etc. So why they use such words? Since such verbs normally type preposition in Arabic, I mean they are phrasal verbs in Arabic, the word affect, the word enjoy, the type preposition in Arabic, their mother tongue, their phrasal verb, they also by analogy insert preposition with these words in English, even if they are not needed. They often make errors in choosing the correct prepositions. How? For instance, they tend to say ashamed from, composed from, object on, blame on, where off. For instance, ashamed of, composed of, object to, and blame for should be used respectively. Not only they make use, you can say, they use preposition with words which is not needed, but sometimes they use preposition with words which is incorrect, wrong preposition. For instance, instead of from, they use of. Instead of on, they should use to. Instead of on, they should use for. So there are other mistakes as well, which actually comes from their native language or interference of the native language. Students, Arabic students also tend to use definite article before nouns, which are not normally preceded by this definite article, such as names of most diseases and many other nouns. Mean they use definite article with nouns, which English pattern does not allow. For instance, names of the disease. The reason for that is that in Arabic, such nouns are usually preceded by the definite article, but this never means that these nouns will also be followed by or preceded by definite article in English as well. For notice the following examples. My father suffers from the diabetes. It's actually, look at the use of the is actually incorrect. My father suffers from diabetes rather than from the diabetes. Similarly, he was filled with the sadness. He was filled with sadness, not with the sadness. Again, he studies the music. He studies music, not the music. They make such mistake, means using definite article with nouns, which is actually not permitted, not allowed in English structure. For instance, names of the disease, abstract nouns, and some other nouns which do not type definite article with them, but Arabic speakers may use it. They tend to use it. Why? Because these nouns are actually accompanied by the definite article in their native tongue, native L1. He left at the twilight should be he left at twilight rather than the twilight. Sentence. The use of run-on sentences, that is, sentences which are incorrectly connected. Run-on sentences in poetry is good, but general prose means incorrectly connected. Also common in composition as is written by Arabic-speaking students. Look at the following example. We waited a long time. He didn't turn up. And my uncle and his family lived in the capital. I knew I could stay with them. So look at these two sort of sentences, means they've been actually combined without using appropriate connecting words. Means whenever we want to combine sentences with the help of preposition or other appropriate punctuation mark, there must be some reason for combining them. We can't coordinate two sentences without having any apparent logical connection between them. If there's no apparent logical connection between them, if there's no need, better we should write separate sentences rather than make them run-on sentences. So look at teachers should be able to help the students avoid run-on sentences by using appropriate connecting words and punctuation marks. But when to use appropriate connecting word and when to use appropriate punctuation mark, when there's need, when there's logical connection between the two sentences, when the two sentences need to be coordinated, when the two sentences need to be complex, need to be combined, need to be blended. If there's no logical connection between the two, there's no need to combine them unnecessarily. Rather, they should be and they must be two separate sentences. Other syntactical error occur in using adjectives. And the fact that in Arabic, adjectives follow nouns makes it difficult for learners of English to put adjectives in their proper place. We've already studied it. Again, it's repetition of the same syntactical errors. Wrong use of adjective also comes in syntactical error. Therefore, as students are likely to make errors like the following. Tourists come to Egypt to enjoy the weather beautiful. So look at this. They don't say the beautiful weather. Why? Because beautiful is an adjective. As far as the English structure is concerned, it must precede weather. But as far as Arabic structure is concerned, it should follow weather. So look at Arabic speakers don't say tourists come to Egypt to enjoy the beautiful weather. They say to enjoy the weather beautiful. Adjectives should be placed last, not it should follow the noun rather than precede the noun. Similarly, men and women enjoy rights equal. They don't say equal rights. They say rights equal. The adjective should follow the noun rather than the adjective should precede the noun. This is a book very interesting. Instead of saying this is a very interesting book, they say this is a book very interesting. The use in adjective plus a noun. Another very important distinction to be noted. Arabic speakers use in adjective plus a noun derived from the man verb. Adjective and noun derived from the man verb instead of using an adverb. Look at English use adverb where adjective they use noun derived from the man verb, importing in Arabic grammatical usage of English. How? Example will make it clear. The following examples will do. The temperature rose a sharp rise. Look at from the verb, it is actually used adjective in noun. Instead, the temperature rose sharply. They say a sharp rise. Similarly, they say the singer performed a wonderful performance. Adjective by performing noun derived from the verb. Noun derived from the verb. Instead of saying the singer performed wonderful. Many other examples of this type Arabic speakers are using. The prices have increased, a gradual increase. Right, the prices have increased gradually. Many other patterns you may come across. This is a very general pattern for Arabic speakers using English. The use of countable and uncountable nouns. So look at this one is also very important. It's not the use of, it must be pronounced as use of. Because this word is not used in the capacity of noun, its pronunciation also changes. If it is used as verb, it is use, but as noun, this is not use, it's use. So another difficulty faced by Arabic speaking student is related to the use of countable and uncountable nouns. Many countable nouns in English such as information, money, damage, housework, homework, etc. are countable in Arabic. Look at these nouns: information, money, damage, homework, housework. They are uncountable in English, but they are considered to be countable in Arabic. So there will be a difference between the two. Consequently, students often add an S to these uncountable nouns while they are using English as well, and use plural instead of singular forms of verbs. Whereas in English, these nouns are always singular. It's not the case that they are singular. They don't have any plural form. They can't be used as plural. They always use as singular. But in Arabic, it's not the case. In Arabic, information, money, damage, housework, homework, they are countable. They can be singular or plural depending on the context. So they may add an S and they may use a plural form of verb. But in English, they will always be without S and they will always be followed by a singular form of verb rather than plural. So following some example, the informations I received were useful, but in English no such things as informations in verb. And housewives do a lot of houseworks. Not possible in English. The storms caused great damages. No, the storm caused great damage. Yes, the word damages can be used, but it will have a very different meaning rather than plural of damage. The word informations does exist in English, but not in the sense of plural of information. Rather, it does exist in a very different sense, a very different meaning, very different conceptual field covered, similar to the case with damages. but they are not actually plurals, or you can say referring to group of information, referring to, you can say, verb, you can say set of damages. Pronunciation. The absence of certain English sounds, or you can say phonemes in Arabic like per and ver, causes real phonological problems for Arab students who usually find it difficult to pronounce words containing such sounds. For instance, it's definitely very problematic a word having per, word having ver, it will always be replaced by per, and it will always be replaced by fer whenever they have got these words. So this is not the case with students in North Africa, because their phonological set of sound, it has got per and ver sound. For instance, words like park and van are likely to pronounce bark and pan. Look, per is replaced with ver, and ver is replaced with fer. In one case, look, the voiceless is actually replaced with the voiced counterpart, and in another case, the voiced counterpart is actually replaced by the voiceless. So this is actually somewhat a different phenomena phenomena at work in Arabic. This detrimentally affects language learning, and it particularly impeded developing listening and speaking skills. Yes, these things means in pronunciation, their listening and speaking skills are strongly affected as far as due to different sets of phonemes and different pattern of, you can say, stress pattern and other suprasegmental features between Arabic and English. These difficulties are by no means insurmountable. Means we may not say that they are incurable, or they might be repeated necessarily. Insurmountable means they may be, you can say, surmounted. They are not insurmountable, rather they are surmountable. They are controllable. We can eradicate them. We can cure them. How? Through giving students sufficient practice in drills and exposing them to intensive listening activities. Teachers can attain good results. These apparently insurmountable difficulties can be made controllable, can be made surmountable with the help of sufficient practice given to students and a lot of drills performed in them, and finally exposing them to intensive listening activities. For instance, in case of such problems like per and ver, in case of differences in segmental and suprasegmental features like stress spectrum and other, you can say, suprasegmental intonic features, they should be given intensive practice and sufficient practice and enough exercise. Hopefully they will, even the Arabic student, they may just recover and they may show sign of improvement at the end. Conclusion. To sum up, Arabic speaking students should be aware of the fact that English and Arabic are quite different languages. Look it. They must make it mentally clear to them that Arabic and English are two quite different languages. They're not simply different as for their substructures, and they're quite different in many different respects. If students are taught how to think in English and avoid doing a mental translation, they should think in English, they should forget about Arabic, they should not be involved in any mental translation of English features into Arabic, then their learning will be greatly enhanced. They may greatly improve. Their problems may not occur to them. Even if they occur, it will be minimal, and they may improve it later on. Teachers certainly have a great role to play in the process of acquainting and familiarizing their students with the language areas. So I have actually mentioned you one thing, that the contrast between Arabic and English. Now it's your turn. Each student should make a contrastive analysis with the respective native language with English. English must be the foreign language, the second language, and they should make a contrast of English with their respective native language L1 as far as lexical level is concerned, syntactic level is concerned, phonetic and phonological level is concerned. Or we may say, whatever we have covered in this chapter, in this lecture, as well as in this chapter, we may say, complete chapter of contrastive analysis, they should keep in mind. Okay. In particular, they should cover the things that we have covered in this lecture, if not more than that. So it's your turn. You may expect something not to be to make contrastive analysis between Arabic and English, but to make a contrastive analysis between your native tongue, be it Urdu, be it Hanko, be it Farsi, be it Punjabi, be it Pashto, be it Saraiki, whatever is it, you're supposed to make a contrastive analysis with English of your native language, practically. So, familiarity students with the language areas that are likely to hinder their language. References from Johnson, from Robert Ledoux, from J. Bright, from Maria McNaplow, Wendell Cook. Any problem in case of any query, you're welcome to come forward, mail it. Hopefully you'll be given as well. Thank you very much. All the best. Good luck.